Hot, hot, hotter, lather, rinse, repeat. That's the way it is in August, but the tropics are quiet, so we'll take it. We are going to talk about our brains now, so pay attention because we all want healthy brains. Our brains take in information, help us make sense of the world around us, but aging, lifestyle choices, and certain medical conditions can all affect brain health. Dr. Brent Wallis, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health, joins us now to talk about how the brain works and how we can keep ours healthy. How you doing, Dr. B?
Hey, Tommy, I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm all right, staying out of the heat. You?
Yeah, I'm trying. It is pretty terrible out there.
It is pretty terrible. That's a good way to put it. That's what the weatherman should say. Here's your forecast. Pretty terrible. Tell me, how does our brain work?
Well, that's a big question. So here's how to think about it.
Presuming it does.
Here's how to think about it, pun intended. So we use what's called cognitive skills to carry out, all of the tasks in our lives, any simple task. And those cognitive skills are how the brain learns and then stores that information and then recalls it. So another way to think about it is we use those cognitive skills to think and to read and remember and reason and really to pay attention. So when we learn new things or we have new experience, our brain has to create new pathways, and those pathways communicate with other areas of the brain. And by doing that process, it actually keeps us sharp and keeps the brain's memory working and really improves your ability to think.
How does aging affect our brains?
So, yeah, as we age, changes happen throughout your entire body, and that definitely is going to include your brain as well. And for most people, those changes are really mild. They shouldn't have a big impact on anybody's daily life. It's really common for people as they get older to maybe become more easily distracted. They might have trouble multitasking or doing multiple things at once. They may be a little slower in finding words or even recalling people's names. But for some older adults, aging of those brain cells can lead to something more serious, something like dementia. So it may be normal to occasionally forget, but people with dementia consistently have trouble really with thinking and with their memory. So if you're concerned about changes in your thinking and memory or that of a loved one, that's when you want to talk to your doctor. Your doctor can help determine if those changes are normal or if it may be something more serious.
I guess health conditions can affect your brain health as well?
Yeah, definitely. There's a whole variety of health conditions that are linked to declines in brain function. And, a good example would be something like high blood pressure. High blood pressure can cause structural or vascular damage within the brain. It may restrict blood flow to the brain, and that, therefore, is going to affect the ability of the brain to process all of that new information. But a whole host of chronic medical problems can cause something similar. Diabetes due to the high blood sugar levels, any sort of heart disease, even something simple like high blood cholesterol, because that affects the vascular system that brings blood to your brain. And then one to always think about is depression. That can slow the brain and make it difficult to think or remember. So if you have any of those conditions, it's really critical you talk with your doctor, make sure you know what's going on with you, and you want to keep those chronic medical problems under control.
Are there things we can do to improve the health of our brains?
Yeah, the best thing you can do is really keep your brain engaged. You want to remember learning new skills and having those new experiences really keeps your mind active and sharp. When you don't learn things for a long time, really your brain slows down. And it's just like any other muscle in your body. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So you want to try to challenge your brain, maybe do some things that you don't usually do. And creative things are really important to kind of draw your attention and keep your attention. Things like painting, reading, playing puzzle games, they really challenge your brain as well. Something like learning a new language or how to play an instrument, those are really great activities and exercises for the brain. And the key is to do multiple different things and really to do them often.
And I got a lot of apps available that'll help you do that. You can learn languages and everything else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of those language apps are really good. They're easy to do pretty much when you have downtime and anywhere you are. So that's a great activity.
What about physical activity?
Yeah, exercise is great for the brain, and if you think about it, it makes sense. You exercise, that increases your energy level, it increases your circulation. That's going to send more oxygen up to the brain. And studies have really consistently shown that regular physical activity might delay the onset of dementia if that's something you are going to develop. And then it can actually improve depression symptoms. And like I mentioned, depression can be associated with memory problems. So, something really simple can help a lot. Something like walking can be a great low-impact exercise. It's going to improve your memory and your mental function. Hopefully it'll improve your concentration and that ability to learn. But then it's also going to decrease the consequences of some of those chronic medical problems. It decreases stroke risk, blood pressure, high cholesterol. So it's really a lot of great benefits.
And it's all about balance. You don't want to train for the Senior Olympics or the Olympics in general. You don't have to push yourself that hard like an NFL player, but you do have to get a certain amount, right? When it comes to exercise, how much is the right amount?
Yeah, definitely. You don't need to overdo it. And, really the CDC recommends that adults get about 150 minutes of moderate exercise per week. So if you think about it, that's about 2.5 hours of exercise per week. The recommendation is really to spread that out over several days, so don't do it all at once. So what usually we say is about 30 minutes a day, at least 5 days a week. So you get 2 days where you take off. The big thing to remember is always talk to your doctor before you start a new exercise plan. Your doctor is going to help you develop that safe plan and a routine that really can help, but also that works with any chronic diseases you may have or any activity limitations you may have as well. So again, talk to your doctor before you start that exercise program.
We're talking with Dr. B, Dr. Brent Wallis, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health, about brain health. And the brain as an organ, Doc, it's ethereal because it's consciousness, it's thought, it's everything, just like, but it's like any other organ in like a kidney or a lung or something, right? It's kind of a balance between physiological and, you understand what I'm trying to say in my own clumsy way?
Yeah. No, it is. It is one of the most important organs in your brain, and it actually controls pretty much everything that's going on in your body. So, just like you take care of your heart, you take care of your muscles, take care of your stomach, you really do have to take care of your brain. And if you have anyone in your family who has developed dementia later in life, you can see how devastating that can be. So you want to take every step you can to make sure that you're preventing that.
Some of that could include certain foods. We'll talk about that when we come back. 8:20, time for traffic now, WWL. 8:25, Tommy Tucker, WWL, back with Dr. B, Dr. Brent Wallis, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health. We're talking about brain health. Our brains are so important. Take in information, helps us make sense of the world. What about foods, Doc? Are there certain foods that you can eat that'd be good for your brain?
Yeah, definitely. Good foods and really essential foods that you should make sure you're trying to work into your diet. Your brain works super hard, 24/7. It's always doing something. And so you've got to have a constant supply of fuel going to it. And that fuel is going to come from whatever you put in your body, whatever you eat and drink. And so there are certain foods that we call brain foods, and what that means is they can really help to protect and nourish the brain. They typically contain a lot of vitamins, antioxidants, and omega-3 fatty acids in particular. And, some of the foods, everybody knows what they are. For the most part, whole grains are very good for you. Any dark green vegetables is something you want to eat as much as you can of. And then a lot of fruits, citrus fruits and kiwis, strawberries and blueberries have a lot of antioxidants in them. And then meats is really an important thing. You want to eat as many lean meats as you can as opposed to non-lean meats. So things like tuna and salmon, chicken, those are going to be really better for your brain than some of the others.
There's a yang for every yin. What about some foods that are bad for the brain?
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of bad foods for your brain that we eat, and research has shown that some of those foods can really cause a lot of damage. They can kind of slow the way you think and cause long-term damage as well. And typically it's foods that are really high in fats, saturated and trans fats. Like I mentioned, non-lean meats, things like red meat, can be very bad for you, especially if eaten in large quantities. Margarine, any processed foods, and then full-fat dairy products as well. And then the other thing to keep in mind is alcohol consumption. So heavy alcohol consumption over a long period of time can cause a tremendous amount of damage to the brain. So again, you want to moderate.
And is that still true where they say, I think, what is it they tell you when you're a kid, that you damage so many brain cells with how much alcohol you take in?
Yeah, you definitely, every time you drink, you can cause some damage. You've got a lot of brain cells, so it takes a while to actually see what the effects of that are. But that's why it's so important to make sure that you don't binge and that you moderate when you are having any sort of alcohol.
And I guess there are other ways to protect our brain health, things like sleep.
Yeah, sleep is actually crucial to brain health, and sleep is really restorative for your entire body as well. Really, sleep helps to support your brain function. It improves mental health as well. So we really tell people to try to get about 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep at night. And what I mean by quality is it's not getting up a bunch of times in the middle of the night. It's not waking up a whole bunch in the middle of the night. You really got to have good, solid, deep sleep for that period of time for your brain to have time to restore and actually heal, from all the things that happen during the day. And then another thing that's really important is staying connected with your friends and family. Social interaction is really great for kind of preventing depression and stress. So you want to always look for opportunities to connect with your loved ones, really, especially if you live alone. Anyone who lives alone, they tend to become more sedentary. They're not interacting. They're not taking those opportunities to learn. So you want to make sure that you make a special effort. Try to meet new people. Maybe consider joining a group, like an exercise group or a volunteering group, even something simple like a book club at your local library. And you can get connected with your local council on aging. They're going to have a lot of people in the same situation, maybe who do live alone, who are really looking for that interaction. So it's a great resource you can use in the community to really try to get out and keep exercising your brain.
So the big takeaway, use it or lose it, right?
Absolutely. Make sure that you're doing everything you can to learn throughout your life, and that's going to keep your brain as healthy as you can.
Thanks, Doc. Dr. Brent Wallis, Chief Medical Officer of People's Health. If you want to find out more about People's Health, you can go to peopleshealth.com. You can visit that People's Health Medicare Center, 3017 Vets in Metairie, right next to Party City. Appointments are recommended, but walk-ins are welcome. You can call 1-800-978-9765. And, of course, you can always follow People's Health on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We come back.